we can't do that. We can't do that. It's just like the mind just convinces us by thought, because the mind has access to generate thoughts. It has access to generate its own software defense program or whatever. The mind has its own ability to shoot down any incoming higher vibrating truth. And it's truth, by the way. It's very important to understand it's truth, which is trying to penetrate the mind. Because if we can connect, essentially, at least in my presence of awareness, is what's happening is that there is something greater than us that we all have the ability to connect to within our heart. But in order to get there, we need to bypass the mind, because the mind is the middleman. The mind is the one who's trying to control. Well, the mind is the one who controls our point of attention. Now, if our point of attention is distracted on something, if it's not focused on something, then our minds can use this point of attention to manipulate and to deceive our true identity or true originality of where we truly originate from. So in saying that, we need to perceive that our minds are truly against us, because if our minds can distract us into, for example, look at the world and the way that we're going towards, we're always distracted on our phones. The food that we're eating is highly promoting distraction, whether that's sugar, which is just like TNT for the mind. It just like blows up, and then our attention is everywhere. It's like we can't focus on one thing. We're always just running around, through sugar. The technology is just constant. If you look at actually the programs of technology, it's designing you to be flicking through a constant distraction, a constant sequence of changing the point of attention. Because what we can do is, if we focus our point of attention on something, we can then start to analyze, and this is done through meditation, we can start to analyze the thoughts that are flowing through our mind, like a program. And they're just programmed thoughts. They're not our true identity. So if we can maintain our attention on something, and we can allow the thoughts to flow through the mind, we can start to connect our heart's awareness with the divine guidance. Because it's like a waterfall. If you're constantly getting caught onto the water flowing through, which is our point of attention, then you'll only always get stuck in that point of attention. You'll only get stuck in the distraction. You'll only get stuck in that small flicker of new thought, 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 new thought. But if we can actually start to focus our attention on something greater, and this something greater can be a positive change for ourselves. Be careful of the missile system, because as soon as the mind sees that you're catching on to something greater than the mind's programming, it will try and shoot that down. So it will convince us of failure. And watch out for of expectations, because if we start to expect things from this positive seed that we're trying to grow, this is also the mind's way of convincing us and attaching us to disappointment. Because if we don't achieve something the way that our mind is telling us that we need to, then we're also attaching ourselves to the mind being able to manipulate our sense of success or our sense of growth. So it's so important to, have something that we can focus on, but not setting any expectations, only setting the love and the hope and an environment for that to grow and to keep us in that sense of point of attention or point of focus and point of determination. There's no room for expectations. There's only room for truth, justice, and promoting that sense of growth, love, change to blossom. Expectations are just going to restrict the growth of the blossoming. We don't need expectations if we can believe in a positive change for good. We don't need that extra stress. So to go back into what we were talking about,